Welcome to your Wednesday edition of CNN Student News. I'm Carl Azuz. Peaceful purposes or nuclear weapons? For years, that's been the debate over Iran's controversial nuclear program. Now the discussion is happening face to face. Representatives from Iran, the U.S., the UK, Russia, China, France, and Germany started meeting yesterday in the Swiss city of Geneva. They're talking about that nuclear program. Iran says it's serious about resolving disputes over the program. Representatives for the other countries say Iran needs to address the concerns about the goals of the program. In the past, Iran has been put under sanctions because of its nuclear program. Sanctions are restrictions, usually economic ones. The goal is to force a country to take action, like changing a policy or starting to negotiate with other nations. Some officials and analysts think Iran is offering to talk about its nuclear program in order to get those sanctions lifted. One of them is Israel's prime minister. He says Iran regularly deceives the international community, so he doesn't think the sanctions should be relaxed too soon. Authorities in the Philippines are trying to get an idea of how bad the damage is. A powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake violently shook the central part of the country Tuesday morning. Dozens of people were killed, most of them when buildings fell, and dozens of others were missing as of last night. A worker with the charity World Vision said people were staying in the streets in the hours after the quake because, as you can see from these pictures, some of the buildings that were still standing were very unsafe to be around. The Philippines is a nation of more than 7,000 islands. Earthquakes are common there. The country's disaster council said this one damaged ports, roads, schools, churches, and homes, and some landslides were also reported. Moving back over to Washington, D.C., where the debate over the partial government shutdown and debt ceiling is getting more intense than ever. Yesterday, a group of military veterans held a rally in the nation's capital. They urged the president and Congress to end the shutdown before its impact hits veterans and their families. At the Capitol, there were reports of proposals from the Republican-led House and the Democratic-led Senate. CNN reporters were told there are a lot of opinions, but no decisions, all while the clock kept ticking toward Thursday's debt ceiling deadline. Teachers, we have a bunch of great resources on the debt ceiling. They're in the resources bin on our homepage. While you're there, make sure you check out our transcript and daily curriculum page. This is your one-stop shop for free educational materials related to each day's show, discussion questions, the media literacy question of the day, plus show transcript and downloadable maps. It's there for you every day, teachers. It's at cnnstudentnews.com.
See if you can ID me. I'm a U.S. military decoration. I was established in 1861 for the Navy and in 1862 for the Army. I'm the country's highest military honor. I'm the Medal of Honor, and among more than 40 million U.S. military veterans, I've been awarded fewer than 3,500 times.
Many of those medals have been awarded posthumously. Before this week, there were 5 living recipients from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now there are 6. In what he described as a monumental event, former Army Captain William Swenson received the Medal of Honor yesterday for his actions during a battle in Afghanistan in 2009. The statement nominating him for the honor talks about how Captain Swenson willfully put his life in danger multiple times in service of his fallen and wounded comrades.
It was a helicopter ride into the hell of war and the soul of Captain William Swenson, a soldier who refused to leave anyone behind and spoke up to senior commanders when it all went wrong.
And what happened that day was a result of clouded judgment. It was a result of clouded judgment on behalf of people who did later receive letters of reprimand.
In this valley 4 years ago, Swenson and his men were ambushed in one of the most brutal firefights of the Afghan war. Swenson said his men did not get urgently needed air support, a claim validated by the Army. Then his nomination file was said to be lost. Now he is finally receiving the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest combat award. It was early morning when the column of more than 100 U.S. and Afghan troops started up the valley's narrow path. Enemy fire opened up from 3 sides.
We are now outnumbered, outgunned, and we have taken casualties.
Sergeant First Class Kenneth Westbrook is shot in the throat and laying out in the open.
He called out to me and said, "I'm hit." And he wasn't panicked. There was no indication of pain. I called out to him, "All right, hold on. I can't get to you. I'm pinned down. Keep fighting."
Swenson runs across open ground, dodging enemy fire to get him. Sergeant Kevin Durst was crew chief of the medevac helo coming to get the wounded. A helmet-mounted camera captured Swenson flashing an orange panel so the helicopter can find him, but it makes him an enemy target.
He was completely under control of the whole situation. He knew exactly what had to be done and when.
Swenson and a medic help Westbrook to the helo, and then a moment amid the mayhem. Watch as Swenson gently kisses Westbrook goodbye. Swenson has no memory of it.
I was just trying to keep his spirits up. I wanted him to know that it was going to be okay. And I wanted him to know that he had done his job. But it was time for him to go.
Swenson, determined to get everyone out, went back into the battle with others still under fire to find and bring out the bodies of dead American and Afghan fighters. Sergeant Westbrook died a few weeks later. Barbara Starr, CNN, The Pentagon.
It's time for the shout out. Ruminate, sup, and gourmandize are all synonyms for what action? If you think you know it, then shout it out. Is it walk, eat, think, or paint? You've got 3 seconds. Go. After chewing that one over, hopefully you figured out that those are all synonyms for eating. That's your answer, and that's your shout out.
Chewing that one over. All right, your parents probably told you don't talk with your mouth full. A restaurant in Brooklyn, New York is taking that lesson to heart, and it's taking it a step further. During special meals, diners have to zip their lips from the minute they walk in the door.
A quiet revolution at this Greenpoint restaurant where every week or so, diners get the silent treatment. 4-course prix-fixe organic meals in complete silence, inspired by a young chef's time in an Eastern culture.
I spent some time in a Buddhist monastery in India when I was in college, and we had silent breakfast every day.
We just asked people to turn off their phones and to remain silent for the remainder of the meal.
A hush falls over the dining room, interrupted only by the occasional hand gesture or nod.
We made a lot of facial expressions, you know. We found other ways of communicating that weren't verbal.
So far, they haven't had to discipline anybody for making noise, but there have been a couple of close calls.
A man steps outside to blow his nose while this woman struggles with a giggle. But how would the inevitable difficult diner complain other than suffering in silence?
Like if there is something that's not quite right, or, you know, maybe they wanted something different, like gives one opportunity to kind of just like be with that moment.
Makes you wonder how the food is, though. Either way, we are talking about this on our blog. If you're 13 or older, we want you to talk about it too. Could you make it through a mute meal? Dine without din, sup in silencio. Better yet, if you try it, tell us how it went. Our blog is up at cnnstudentnews.com. It's Wednesday. That's when our roll call goes worldwide. Today, we're heading to Canada, the Caribbean, and Kiev. First stop, Welland in the province of Ontario. That's where we check in with the Eagles at Eastdale Secondary School. Then it's down to St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands, where the All Saints Cathedral School Vikings make our roll call. And finally, we've got the Cossacks from Kiev International School in the capital city of Ukraine. You've seen a cat play with a ball of string. Bears get the jumbo version. Actually, this one, his name's Eli. He's playing tetherball. If you've never played, the point of the game is to smack the ball so the chain wraps around the pole. Based on this YouTube video, it looks like Eli's got the hang of it. He's ducking and weaving. He's timing his hits. Of course, he's also not playing against an opponent, so when it comes to effort, Eli may just be giving it the bare minimum. Still, looks like he's having a ball. How does he respond to autograph requests? He could growl or sign. Get it? Sign. Bear pun. Just grin and bear it. It's time for us to pause. For CNN Student News, I'm Carl Azuz. Have a great rest of your day.